Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Imperfect podcast. Today we have George or Georgie. Can I call you Georgie?
Please, my friends call me Georgie. So, as I consider you a friend, then please call me George.
So Georgie is with us, and again, he's part of the first guests on this podcast. So please bear with us because it's gonna be an imperfect podcast, as it's called. So, Georgie, I love you so much, and I would prefer that you present yourself in your words. Who are you?
I am a person
Uh-huh.
I'm a soul trying to be a human at this point in time in existence. And my job, because I don't like to say, people always associate themselves with what they do, but I like to say that my job is as a filmmaker. I chose the path of a filmmaker in this life. So that's what I do. I make films. I make fiction feature films. And I love my job. And I'm also a person who's very spiritually inclined. That's how we met, through a spiritual group that we were both a part of for years. I've recently found myself on a new path of also becoming a musician at 33. So that's also who I am at this point in life. And I'm very happy to be here with you, Ziad, and I'm looking forward to our conversation.
I have to. I'm very excited, and I watched your movie, one of your movies, and I really loved it. And it made me feel that we are connected even before we know each other because we have kind of similar vision of life and of why we're here, what we're here to do. We're here to ask ourselves questions because life is imperfect, George.
Absolutely.
What makes you imperfect mostly?
What makes us? I mean, everything. No, what makes us perfect? Like nothing. Me specifically. I self-doubt. A lot of self-doubt. I have a lot of self-doubt and lack of self-love. I have a lot of love in me, and I kind of project it out towards other people, towards animals, towards plants, towards the beauty this earth has to offer. And I tend to neglect myself in the process. So lack of self-love and fear, fear of the future, fear of life not turning out the way I expect it to, uh, fear of not achieving all I want to. So I feel those are the main things that make me imperfect in this body. Yeah.
Okay. So, Georgie, I was saying that you've already achieved a lot, and you're starting this episode with a very big topics like self doubt, lack of self love, fear. Wow, what like we all feel this. We all, like, a lot of people feel these things, and sometimes we are not aware of these things, but you are aware of that. How do you use this to your benefit, the awareness that you have?
Uh, the thing is that I'm conscious of it, which is a good thing. So I can always, in a way, when thoughts come up of fear, of self-doubt, I tend to remind myself that this is just a fabrication of my mind, that it is not real. It's my mind creating these things. It's my ego afraid of losing its power over me, because obviously if I tell the ego to fuck off, then everything else will fuck off with it, like the lack of self-love and the fear and the doubt, because that's just my ego not feeling worthy enough. But me as a soul, I'm a perfect soul, right? We're all part of the divine, and the divine is within us, and we just have to kind of be a vessel for it to manifest through us. And that's all we can do, and the divine is perfect. So I'm conscious of the fact, because I'm very aware. I mean, not, I'm aware. I say it like it's the norm, but I choose to believe. this. I choose to believe that we are a vessel for which the divine is, I mean, we are here for the divine to manifest itself through us. And anytime we're not doing that, we're not doing a really good job at being, being a human. And I feel like the ego has most to do with that. And knowing that is a good thing, because when I became conscious of that is when I started to fix a lot of the issues going on in my life that were inhibiting me from being the best version of myself. And when I feel these emotions, I talk to myself. I remind myself that this is not who I am. I then that's where the self-love comes in. Remind myself to love myself, because to love the God within me, which is me.
In fact, Georgie, when you were talking, I was thinking that these imperfections or these issues, as you called it, are the ones that make us awake. They are the triggers. They are here for a reason. These imperfections are what makes us evolve in life, are what makes us tend to be a better version of ourselves and connect to this divine in us. No?
I agree. I agree completely. I was thinking that the other day, like without, without sadness, you wouldn't know what it means to be happy, right? Without anger, you wouldn't know what peace means. Without, without this lack of appreciation for yourself, you wouldn't know what true love actually feels like. Like, so definitely these are the things that I feel throughout my spiritual readings, you tend to read a lot about people who reached enlightenment without having to go through problems first, without having to go through difficulties. I'm not one of those people. I had to go through very, very, very tough times in order to get to the bottom of the abyss, and tell myself that I no longer want to be in this body, and I don't want to live anymore, until I decided to do something about it. And that's when I started my spiritual path, and that's what saved me, basically. So I'm one of those people who definitely, as you're saying, the imperfections save them in a way.
So it's the path, in fact. It's the path. And they open our eyes on the potential that we have inside of us. And through this path of not appreciating ourselves, we learn our value and we learn our worth, and we get to appreciate more and more and love ourselves more and more. So, in fact, what I'm hearing here is that imperfections are the path towards perfection
I really
or
like
the
that.
divine, no?
I like the way you put it. Absolutely, absolutely. Just when you're in it, it feels so consuming, so all consuming that you don't see the light. So it could seem like the end of the world, but then when you look back, you tend to think like, I am so thankful I went through all that, because I wouldn't be here if it wasn't through all that. I wouldn't be able to experience the world, the beauty that exists so fully if I hadn't gone through so much difficulties.
Yeah. So, in fact, when we are in it, you said that we think that it's the end of the world, and in fact, we think that it's gonna be like this all the time. That it's not gonna like it's. We think that this moment is gonna last forever, and this is how I experience it. And I remember this summer we had a bad experience with my son, having like my young son of 7 years getting bitten by a dog in his hand, and it was a very painful experience for him. We had to go through a lot of operations in the like not operations but like vaccines and this kind of stuff, and he was crying and he was in pain, and I was telling him one thing: this pain will end. This pain will end. You will feel better. And I think this is a very important message that we can tell ourselves all the time. I also, during the difficult parts of my life or painful part of my life, I used this to tell myself it's gonna be better, and this is the path.
Absolutely. I mean, this too shall pass, right?
Yeah.
This too shall
But
pass.
Georgie, now we are being open, authentic, genuine. But in life, a lot of times, life pushes us to be pressure us to be perfect in some situations and in some moments of our life. Which is the moment where you were most pressured to be perfect, or which role?
So the thing is that I'm not that person anymore, right? I'm very much someone who does not adhere to what society expects of them. You know, I do what I want when I want. I don't go to social gatherings that I don't feel like attending. You know, I'm very much in my personal space most of the time, at home. I appreciate my alone time. Because of this expectation to be perfect all the time, you know, because it's difficult for me to go out and see people pretending that everything is okay, that everything is all right, we're perfect, nothing's wrong, la 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 la, you know. So because
But you have done
I'm
it.
true to myself. I've done it
You
many
have done
times,
it.
of course. I spent most of my life doing it. This past I don't know, five years have been when I've kind of decided to shift away from that.
In which role you are mostly pressured to do it? Is there a specific role?
I would say amongst the people in society, amongst people my age, you know, amongst that's the most difficult is when you're trying to be cool, when you're trying to prove yourself, when you're trying to, you know, always be the best, always
But
pretend
you are
like you know.
cool, and you are the best, Georgie. No?
True, of course,
Yeah. So
of course,
the
yeah. But
fact,
in social
huh?
gatherings,
Yeah, and in general, when you feel this pressure, or if you don't, how do you deal with it, or how do you manage it?
when I feel like what I'm not perfect.
No, you feel pressure to be perfect, and this is not you.
Okay, how do I personally?
Yeah.
I either leave the situation. I either leave, go back to my comfort zone, or I'm a person who's not shy or afraid to speak their mind. You know, so I might, if I'm feeling this, I might confront the situation. I might blatantly say, like, guys, can we cut the bullshit? Like, let's talk about something else other than the weather or social media or Bitcoin or the new dress or, you know, let's just talk about love and what it means to be a soul in a human body and what's the first trauma you remember. You know, let's talk about things like that matter
What
that
is the
might help.
first trauma you remember?
Uh, my I remember the first trauma I remember is a baby kitten that I was trying to save that was sick, dying in my hands
How
when I
old
was
were
very
you?
young,
Mm.
maybe like five, six, something like that.
How did you feel at that time? You remember?
I felt I couldn't understand why something so innocent and sweet had to suffer like that. Because it was hit by a car. It had been hit by a car. It was all broken up. So, and I had it in my hands, and I wanted to save it, but I couldn't save it. So, and I felt what it means to feel helpless.
Mm. Today we see this on our screens every day of babies and children. Uh, how does it make you feel, or how did you evolve since that moment? Or
You know, Ziad, I'm off social media because of this absurdity. I can't, you know, I can't scroll and see a video of Palestinian children starving to death, and then another scroll to see of a woman taking a selfie with a duck face, and then you know another scroll to see a vacuum cleaner ad. So it's just the absurdity of that world is something I don't want to be a part of, and so I prefer to stay away from social media, stay in my world, focus on things I want to focus on, choose what I dedicate my attention to, and not have to be surprised with what comes up on my feed.
but knowing that it exists, how does it make you feel?
But now what?
Knowing that it exists in
It
this
makes me
world.
feel like it makes me feel there's a certain anger and makes me feel like this is a world I don't want to be a part of, but that I am. You know, a disappointment in human beings. I feel like we really messed up our priorities in this existence.
But luckily, there
You
are
know,
people like you also who believe in a better world, no? Like what we call light
and
workers, warriors.
I hope so. I hope so. I can only hope, really.
What do you do what is your perfect world that you would love to live in?
I feel unconditional love would be a primary necessity for that world by all. Uh, respect for all creatures and living things and even immaterial things. You know, a knowledge or form of communication with the world that we cannot see, and just a dissolve of the ego
You've
within us
mentioned
all.
the ego several times. What is ego for you?
Wow, what a, the ego is the fiercest battle we will ever face in this life. I feel like I mean it's it's insane to me how difficult it is to break it. You know, to just it's so powerful. Like, you know, you can be so conscious in one moment and tell yourself, wow, I'm so conscious. This feels amazing. I want to be like this for the rest of my life. I'm never going to let my mind slip and fall back into my old patterns and behaviors. Like we said, fears, anxiety, insecurity, self-doubt. And then a second later, your mind's rushing about something that doesn't even matter. And you're judging yourself and you're judging others. And it's absurd. It's I think it's our fiercest battle. I think that's what will liberate us is once we're free from the ego. Once we're actually free because it's a part of us. I think like once we subdue the ego. I think once we
Exactly.
subdue the ego. Once we tell the ego, like which like it's a child ego calling out for attention the whole time. That's how I see it. So once we tell the ego, hey buddy, it's gonna be okay. You can relax now. Just relax. It's gonna be okay. And it just calms down and stops crying out the whole time. That's when we'll find peace.
I like what you said now about the relationship with the ego because I used to say yes, the ego is the main reason of my problems or my pain or whatsoever. And I had a session of because we're spiritual now. I had a session with a lady on Monday about alchemical cellular alchemy. And so I was talking about the ego, and she had a different vision that is closer to what you're saying now, which is the ego is important, and the ego is what, for example, make us realize our physical and mental boundaries and protect us from some situations or whatsoever. But at the same time, it's all about our relationship with the ego. How do we befriend it in spite of letting it control us and lead us to things that are not beneficial at the end of the day for us. So yeah,
I love that. I love how you
yeah.
phrased it.
Because you remember this mantra: don't feed, don't repress. The more we repress something, the bigger it becomes. No,
Absolutely.
what do you repress the most in you?
Fear of not achieving everything I want to achieve.
Where do you think this fear is coming from?
From a lack of self-worth. If I felt worthy enough the whole time, I wouldn't need anything else, right? I'd be fulfilled. There wouldn't be that desire for something else, that constant desire for something else, which I'm working on. You see, I'm aware of it and I'm working on it.
Of course,
And I have
yeah.
moments when when I don't feel that and I'm okay and I'm at peace, but it's every day. It's a momentary, it's a moment by moment fight against that feeling.
It's very interesting what you're saying because we don't say it often. But I think that a lot of people, I personally feel, I have also some self faith. I would call it faith, and like I would love to have more faith in myself. And so, and I can see it in a lot of people around us, but we don't talk a lot about it. And it's important that we don't make of it something that is a monster or a demon. We don't talk about this, like it's not good to talk about it, or it will impact my image, or if I talk about it, I won't look in a good way. I think it's important to acknowledge this feeling of, for example, lack of self-worth or faith in oneself, And because by acknowledging it, as we said before, we can do things to discover what is our value. You know, Georgia, I keep reminding myself every fucking, sorry, it's imperfect podcast, so I can use bad words. I keep reminding myself of my value. I know my value. I know all my strengths. I know what I can achieve. And still, I can't believe it. Sometimes I forget also. I go into self-doubt. I need validation. I need approval from others. And this makes me think about what you were saying also a few minutes ago about this constant, you go in and out your divine version, or your you go into your insecurities more and more. How do you see this, and what could you tell anyone who is having the same battle, internal battle?
First, I think for me, what's helped the most is meditation. You know, is dedicating that time, that specific time, every day, without exception, to to finding that stillness. I do it in the mornings, you know, and when I feel that stillness in the morning, I try to remember it throughout the day. So whenever that machine starts grinding of like, you're not gonna make it, you're unworthy, you will never achieve anything in this life, blah 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 blah, I just go back to that stillness, you know, and I connect to to divine energy and whatever you want to call it, you know what I mean? And I find that peace, and then I find that love for myself, that love for it, whatever you want to call it, for God. And this is what kind of brings me back, what grounds me, what allows me to put us with like, because obviously when you're thinking all those negative thoughts, the frown comes, and then, you know, when you connect again, it just turns into this little smile. And you know, a lot of what I do is they say that when you put a smile on your face, it tricks your mind into thinking that you're happy. Proprioception. So I do that a lot throughout the day, even if I might be like on a negative tangent in my stream of thought. I put a smile on my face and I just like, I'm good.
Look at us, we're good here, no?
Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's not easy, and I'm happy that we are two men talking about this topic also, because we men in general, we don't like to talk a lot about our vulnerabilities and our insecurities. And I think thank you for being so open, and thank me also for being so open. And it's very funny because I did 2 sessions before with women, and it's very funny that now we are 2 men and we are talking about our vulnerability to this extent, and things that usually maybe men don't have the courage to talk about. What do you think about that?
First, as you were speaking, you were saying we men, and I was like, we men, women. That sounds like women.
Yeah.
And I like that.
It's
I
blurry.
like that. I like that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what do I think about that? I find toxic masculinity to be the most ridiculous thing in our society. And I feel so bad for you know, for men who have to suffer through that, who are so insecure in a way, or have been programmed to think that they have to prove themselves constantly with their manhood, through their manhood, because it's such an aggressive way of living. You know, and when we grew up in Lebanon, me and you, so we know exactly what that means, growing up within that environment of toxic masculinity. And we were able to break out of that, thankfully. But we know it well, so we know how suffocating it can be. I feel the more connected to the woman in me that I am, the more liberated I am. The more vulnerable I am, basically, the more liberated I am from all the negativity. So I feel, it's vital for us to connect to that, right? To the women in us. I mean, they're the most incredible beings. Women, they carry life, they create life. We barely, we just we just come.
We finance.
We just
We
come,
come.
and we think,
Yeah,
And we think
you
we did
win.
something special, you know? And
Yeah,
we think we run the show.
we planted the seed, you
We
know.
planted the seed. Nice one. Nice, nice. Exactly. Yeah. So I think toxic masculinity, if toxic masculinity was eradicated, the world would definitely be a better place. That's one of the things we can do to solve the current crisis.
Hmm. Yeah, we have a lot of toxic masculine on the in power today, and this
Exactly.
ma- it's made me think about also something that so I've been also like you working on my toxic masculine part because I realized a few years ago that I have it and I didn't know what to do with it, you know, because for me, for example, this is how I would be a man. You know, let's talk to the men today who are already in this toxic masculinity, who is still in this toxic masculinity persona. It's very difficult for them to break free because they don't know how to do it differently, and this is how for them they are being a man. And so I've done a lot of work of communication is also between my toxic masculine part and my wounded feminine part, because at the opposite of the toxic masculine I had internally a wounded feminine that couldn't express herself, that couldn't through arts, through things that I like, for example this podcast, I wouldn't have done it if I had still my toxic masculinity mask, you know. So I did a lot of work on bridging these two parts in me, and I was very happy about the outcome. And during this cellular like alchemy cellular alchemy that session that I did on Monday, I came to realize, man, that one of the most important beliefs that I have that are blocking me from reaching my potential is that I believe that power is destructive for me and for others. And I think this comes from this toxic masculinity. So to 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 be in your masculine, you have to shout, you have to be aggressive, you have to fight for what you want, you have to. And so I came to realize that and this is why, by the way, I cannot be powerful, because I give away my power because I'm afraid of destroying myself, others, the world in which I live, or whatsoever. So I'm afraid of this destruction, and that's why I was keeping repeating. I don't know if you can say it like this. I kept repeating the same pattern of giving away my power to others, and I still do it. And so I transformed this to a mantra that I love, that I have since Monday, which is my power is creative. It elevates me, elevate others, and federate the collective, and something around to build a world where I dreamed of living, or something like that. So shifting the destructive power into creative power, this could be something that maybe men could use to connect to the part in them that is more softly powerful. I
I
spoke a lot.
appreciate. I know. I appreciate the way what you said. I agree. I agree. We always have tendency to feel that we need to prove ourselves, and sometimes if we feel suppressed, we think getting louder is the answer. When it's and going out, when I feel like going within is the answer, and going within and looking at what you can offer, what you can create in the situation, what you actually create, what can you add to the situation to make it to any situation you're in, the life that you're living, anything to make it better.
Georgie, what parts of yourself did you used to hide before and now you are reclaiming?
Wow, that's a big question.
Briefly, because you don't
Uh,
have time.
yeah, my sexuality is the first thing I would say. I used to. I've always been part of me has always been queer. I've been attracted to both men and women, and I always suppressed that, especially growing up in a country like Lebanon where you can't really talk about these things, because it's unacceptable and on so many levels. So, so that's something I suppressed that I'm not suppressing anymore. Also, doing what I want with my body and with my physical looks. Like, I dye my hair now whenever I feel like it. Sometimes I put nail polish on because I like to put nail polish on. Because I was too afraid to ever embrace that part of me before, and now it's one of my favorite things to do, to embrace that part of me.
What shifted? How did you manage to do
I
this? Very
stopped
courageous.
giving a fuck. Man, I realized I'm gonna die one day, and that really, absolutely, I swear, I realized I'm gonna die, and that the only person who's living in this body is me, and I did not want to get to the end and regret not making the most out of my life or living the way I wanted to live, and it liberated me.
Yeah. How do you feel now?
Huh?
How do you feel now?
I feel great. I'm the happiest I've ever been, you know, after all the work. I have bad days, obviously. I have terrible days. Terrible, terrible. But I mean, the when I am happy, it's such an incredible feeling, you
And
know? Yeah.
when you reclaimed this part in you, what shifted in you? You're happier, but how do you deal with the judgment of others?
You forgive them. You realize that they're just a person who's taught to believe that this is wrong or this is unacceptable. So he's just projecting what he's already learned, what they've
Yeah.
already learned,
Yeah.
that, I mean, for me, it's like, it's God not knowing that they're God yet, and not knowing that I'm God. And they're still learning, and I forgive them.
And if you have someone in front of you now who's not feeling worthy enough, self-worth, who's hiding parts of them for others, and who's not feeling this self-love, what would you tell them?
Go to a cemetery. Go walk, go walk around a cemetery, and know that one day you're going to be one of those bones in that box very soon, much sooner than you think, and you never know what's going to happen.
Georgie, I'm leaving. I don't have time. I have to do so many things now that you have. Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you. I take
Yeah,
this message for me also.
yeah. You have beautiful cemeteries in Paris.
Yeah,
Definitely
Père
worth
Lachaise.
walking
I
around.
went with my wife last time and she was like crying all the time. I told her, yeah, a lot of people like to go there to have fun and and she was like, no, I can't. I'm crying all the time. There's so much energy. That's energy. Georgie, it was one of the most powerful and deep and open. Thank you so much for all the openness that you put in this conversation that I really enjoyed. You put on the table a lot of deep things, but I have a traditional last question that I want to ask you. Can you share with us something that nobody knows about you?
I'm such an open person that I and I hate to keep things to myself, that I think I've told everything to everybody. Something I much looking forward to dying.
Wow.
I'm very much looking forward to leaving this body, to being free from this body. Even though I love living this life, but I'm also very much looking forward to leaving this prison, waking up from the dream.
Georgie, thank you so much. Let me recap in 2 minutes what we've said. We said so many things. The imperfections, like lack of self-worth, lack of self-love, fear. These are the things, the imperfections that stand in your way, but that also pushes you to know your worth more and to grow and to become a better person, because you are a deep believer, Georgie, that inside of each one of us there is a divine, and that we need to connect to this divine, and this will liberate us and will allow us not to give a fuck for what other people think, because at the end of the day we are all gonna die one day, and sooner than later. So better be who we want to be, better be true to ourselves, better acknowledge and let ourselves free ourselves from all the what society and people and physicality pushes us with, and live our life. So thank you so much, Georgie, for your trust, and I'm sure we're gonna do it again in a few months. We will have 1 million follower at that time, so Georgie, thank you. Please follow us, subscribe, share, like. This is an imperfect podcast, and we count on you. Thank you. Ciao.